You think you're a good person. You hold doors open for strangers. You donate to charity. You help your friend move apartments even though you had other plans. And you tell yourself you did it because you care. Because it was the right thing to do. Because you're kind. But neuroscientists, evolutionary biologists, and psychologists have spent decades studying exactly this: why humans help each other, and what they found is deeply uncomfortable. Every single act of kindness you have ever performed in your entire life was, at some level, selfish. And the strangest part? That doesn't make it less real. But the real answer is far stranger than simple cynicism. This isn't about saying humans are fake or that generosity is a lie. It's about what's actually happening inside your brain and your genes when you help someone, and why understanding it changes everything you think you know about morality, sacrifice, and what it means to be human. Let's start with your brain, because your brain is a liar. A beautifully sophisticated, well-intentioned liar. In 2006, neuroscientist Jorge Moll and his team at the National Institutes of Health ran a study where they placed people inside brain scanners and gave them a choice: keep money for themselves, or donate it to charity. When people chose to donate, something unexpected lit up. It wasn't the region associated with moral reasoning or conscious decision-making. It was the mesolimbic pathway, the brain's reward system. The same circuit that activates when you eat food, have sex, or take certain drugs. Your brain rewarded you for giving. It flooded you with warmth and satisfaction. Scientists now call this the helper's high, and it is neurologically real. You didn't help because it was selfless. You helped because it felt good. And your brain made sure of that on purpose. But why would your brain do this? Why would evolution wire you to feel pleasure from helping strangers? The answer takes us back roughly 300,000 years, to a world where the reason you're alive right now is because your ancestors were, in a very specific sense, selfish together. Early humans survived not because they were the strongest or the fastest. They survived because they were the most cooperative. A lone human on the African savanna was essentially dead. No claws, no speed, poor night vision, unable to outrun a leopard or overpower a lion. But a group of humans? Devastating. Groups hunted together, shared food, protected each other's children, and pooled knowledge across generations. The individuals who felt good when they helped their group, who got a neurological reward for cooperation, those individuals were more likely to be kept in the group, fed, protected, and allowed to reproduce. The ones who didn't feel that reward, who felt nothing when they helped others, were more likely to be excluded, abandoned, or simply left behind when things got dangerous. In other words, your capacity for kindness was not an accident of moral evolution. It was a survival feature. Your genes selected for generosity because generosity kept your ancestors alive. Evolutionary biologist Richard Dawkins called this the selfish gene, the idea that your genes will do anything, including make you feel genuinely loving and generous, if it increases the chances of those genes surviving. Your kindness is real. Your warmth is real, but underneath it, your DNA is running a very cold calculation. And then there's something even stranger. In 1964, biologist William Hamilton proposed a theory called kin selection. The idea was simple but radical. You are more likely to help people who share your genes. Parents sacrifice for children. Siblings risk themselves for each other. Extended family pulls together in crisis. Hamilton formalized this with a mathematical equation now called Hamilton's rule, which essentially says that the probability of you helping someone increases in direct proportion to how genetically related you are to them. You don't consciously calculate this, but your behavior reflects it with startling accuracy across every human culture ever studied. But here's where it gets strange. Humans help strangers. Lots of them. All the time. You donate to disaster relief for people you'll never meet in countries you'll never visit. You stop to help someone who dropped their groceries. You feel genuine distress when you see a stranger cry. Hamilton's rule doesn't fully explain this. So scientists looked deeper, and they found a concept called reciprocal altruism, first described by biologist Robert Trivers in 1971. The idea is that you help strangers because, unconsciously, you expect the world to help you back. Not necessarily that specific person. But living in a society where people help each other means that when you are the one who needs help and eventually you will be, someone will be there. Helping strangers is a long-term investment in a social safety net that your brain has been making without telling you. Now here's the twist, and it might be the most uncomfortable part of all. Psychologists have a name for the good feeling you get from helping others. They call it warm glow. And studies show that people will actually make irrational financial decisions just to feel it. In experiments run by economist James Andreoni at the University of Wisconsin, participants consistently gave more money to charity than was economically logical, even when they knew the charity was inefficient, even when they knew a larger donation from someone else would make their own gift irrelevant. They gave anyway, because the warm glow wasn't about the outcome. It was about the feeling of giving. Which means, in a very real sense, charity can be more about making the giver feel good than about maximally helping the receiver. You donate to feel like a good person. The recipient is almost secondary. This is what philosopher Peter Singer called the problem with modern altruism. We choose charities that make us feel something, that are emotionally resonant, that are close to home, rather than charities that save the most lives per dollar. We volunteer for causes that give us a story to tell rather than causes that need us most. Our generosity is real, but it is filtered entirely through our own emotional needs first. And yet, here is the part that changes everything. Knowing all of this, knowing that your brain rewards you for kindness, that your genes selected for cooperation, that your generosity is partly about your own warm glow, does any of that make the kindness less real? The child who was fed because someone helped still ate. The person who was pulled from the wreckage still lived. The friend who felt less alone because you showed up still felt less alone. The outcome of your selfish generosity is indistinguishable from the outcome of purely selfless generosity, if such a thing even exists. Psychologist C. Daniel Batson spent his entire career trying to find a single act of human altruism that was completely free of self-interest. He couldn't. Not one. But what he did find was that people with high empathy genuinely prioritized others' well-being, even when it cost them significantly, even when no one was watching, even when there was no social reward. The motive was mixed, it always is, but the care was real. Every human civilization ever built rested on this paradox. The cooperation that allowed us to build cities, write laws, develop medicine, and send machines to other planets was powered by a selfish impulse dressed up as love. Your ancestors gathered around fires and shared food not purely out of virtue, but because sharing food meant they survived, and surviving meant they could share again. The whole long chain of human history is one long act of selfish generosity, each generation helping the next not entirely for the next generation's sake, but because something deep in our wiring made it feel like the right thing to do. So the next time you hold a door open, or donate to a cause, or stay up late helping a friend through something hard, yes, part of you is doing it for the warm glow. Part of you is doing it because your genes figured out 300,000 years ago that cooperation was the only way to survive. Part of you is doing it because being seen as kind matters to you. But here's the question that will stay with you. If the feeling is real, and the help is real, and the connection is real, does it matter at all why you did it? Or is the most human thing of all the fact that we found a way to make selfishness look exactly like love? Subscribe for a new mind-bending video every week.